10-year vision was to turn Harrow Woods into a park. Yay, we made it. We're very pleased to see Harrow Woods location on the to-do list. And we were there in 1999, and we're going to be here in 2016 and 2017 and beyond to work with you on the dream of Harrow Woods. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak? Please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have them, 3515 James Heights. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity to address you on behalf of the Friends of Cedarville Park with respect to our park management plans. Our society has 80 members who have performed in excess of 1,000 hours of work in 2015 in Cedar Hill Park. We continue to collaborate with Saanich Parks on twice-annual Balcony cleanup which has resulted in the restoration of Reach 17 between the two footbridges. We are also members of the BCI Steering Committee. We support the project to restore Reach 17 from the North Footbridge to the conduit that comes through the golf course. Our members, with Council, acted to preserve Kings Pond wetland in 2014. And as members of the Pulling Together team, we maintain the park with a work crew every Monday morning. We've established effective and ongoing relationships with Parks Management, having met recently with Eva Ricius, Gary Dara, Carol Ireland, Andrew Berger, Corey Manton, and the Parks Maintenance team under Ian Smith and Mark Bate. So altogether, I'm really happy to say that we've been through a great 2-year period where we've really improved not only our relationship with parks, the relationships within our community, the relationships with our community association, with indeed the society set up. And why this is important, I think it is the fruit of great collaboration, and this is what has grown out of this 2-year journey that we've been on. We have met so many good members of our community and indeed good members of staff, so we're very, very grateful. I would like, first of all, to make some comments with respect to the Parks Management Plan itself. And indeed, my comments are made very much in the spirit of wanting the best of outcomes and the fact that this is done in the context of all the good experiences we've had over the last 2 years. First of all, we think that there's a need for visioning. The Parks Management Plan process concerns the management of one of our largest and most significant public assets by the Parks Department for the benefit of the community and by extension the sustainability of our environment. And I ask if this plan itself could be the product of collaboration of the Parks Department with the community. And secondly, I'd like to talk about inspiration. Our parks are a significant financial, historical, environmental, social, and indeed emotional asset to our community that makes a powerful contribution to the health and well-being of the community for now and for future generations. Parks have an important place in our hearts, and we strongly encourage that we recognize this in park strategy and planning documents. With regard to communication, these are truly at the heart of any successful undertaking, and we encourage parks to give communications greater prominence with appropriate resources. Really, our success has really been based on developing and improving communications. With respect to the environment, parks are a critical means for Saanich to achieve the objectives in the OCP with respect to the environment. Community expectations of Parks Department leadership have been a major part of the current EDPA debate. There is a pressing need, in our opinion, to clearly link parks policy, planning and execution to Council's long-term initiatives and bylaws with respect to environmental sustainability and restoration. With respect to community development, this is a really important aspect that is altogether parallel with the well-being of the parks, the physical parks themselves. Community development is the primary objective, or a primary objective, of parks in general. And we think it's worthy of consideration as to how community development can be better achieved through parks planning process. Consulting the public is a first step, but we need to consider how parks plans can serve to build community and to encourage participation. And then finally, with respect to comments on the parks plan process itself, pulling together, as we mentioned earlier this evening, we think this is a very important program that brings significant resources to the maintenance of our parks. Nearly 14,000 hours of volunteer work were performed in 2015, and we need to recognize the strategic value of this program as one of the most important tools for achieving the objectives of the park management plan. And it should be referenced and included in the planning process, in our opinion.
Peter, can I get you to wrap up your remarks?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Finally, with respect to Cedar Hill Park, to recap our plans for 2016, we support the Quadra Cedar Hill Community Association in the picnic, the Cedar Hill Park walk. We continue our Barker Creek work, Kings Pond Park, restoration activities, and pulling together. We reach out to our community to encourage their participation in all maintenance activities. A master plan for Cedar Hill Park is indeed a top priority for the Friends of Cedar Hill Park. We think this can be a model for what most citizens would want from their local park. And we believe our master plan for Cedar Hill Park could be a template for all Saanich Parks master plans. Our primary motive was to in fact reflected how Cedar Hill Park was created in the first place, and it was a result of community-led effort to protect the beautiful area of Saanich threatened with subdivision in the big 1960s. Our primary motive is to ensure that our park is not developed. We know that the important natural areas of the park are zoned P4HR, and that provides for a wide variety of structures. In the event these are constructed, the large part of the park and its function would be lost forever. What we would like is a simple, inexpensive master plan endorsed by council. Firstly, the master plan needs a vision for the future of our park to be maintained as a natural park for the benefit of future generations. The park represents a valued synergy of golf course, recreation, and arts centre, outdoor recreation, chip trail, and the beautiful environmentally sensitive areas. It is the focal point for our community. The master plan itself is a critical tool for engaging our community and collaborating with Parks Department. It should outline how the plan will operate by leveraging the community organizations currently in existence, and indeed new associations that may evolve. We see this as a means to guide all efforts in decision for our park in the future. And the final part of the master plan, we think, should contain a simple list of future projects to maintain and restore the park, the Barker Creek restoration, invasive plant removal, natural area plans, signage and naming. Many of these are not controversial or expensive and depend on ongoing maintenance restoration efforts. Those areas or plans that require significant change or expenditure would be publicized and approved by the process I identified previously. In closing, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to Saanich Council and staff of their Parks Department for their work and ongoing support. We would like to thank the outgoing Quadra Cedar Hill Community Association, John Schmutt, for his efforts in bringing forward this master plan for Cedar Hill Park. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you to the organization that supports our park so well. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Dixon. I live at 4059 Monarch Place, and I'm very pleased to be here tonight to be reading a report and a process that has put Hare Woods on the map. Since all the controversy and the rezoning a few years ago, it's been very silent. in reading through staff's reports, which I really appreciate that you recognize the problems and the situations facing this natural woodland with the bike jumps and the degradation, and without any educational tools, it's not getting any better. And it's not just the youth. There are a number of 30 to 40-year-old adults in this group as well that use the forest. So I guess I'm looking through all of the information that was prepared, and many of you know how long we have been fighting for Harrow Woods since 1984. And that we've had a woodland restoration project in 2004-2005 in Harrow Woods too, that was initiated and supported by the Residents Center, Cadbro Bay Residents Association. When I'm reviewing the strategic plans, the sustainability strategic plans, and the organizational landscape that was done by Yates, Thorne and Associates, Inc., I note here that it says a recognition that parks and trails are now part of the transportation system. And I don't remember reading that anywhere in the report that was put forward. Also, I'm just wondering, with the remaining parks and any major future acquisitions to be reviewed with Parks, Trails, Recreation Committee and Council in 2019, how that lines up with the timelines that have been established in the 2014-2018 strategic plans, working with fourth quarter 2018, and now we have a new date of 2019, and it has no mention of how what the transportation's role is in this process. There's a lot of information to review and a lot of crossovers, and I think one thing that seems to be out of line is the fact that I would think something of this magnitude would be lined up with our local area plan review, given that there's a lot of comments that are still valid today that were then. And I'm not seeing timelines add up, and I'm not seeing information that's in different reports covered in this process report. So I'd just like to make note of those and uncertainties, and to know the role of transportation and the committee in this new parks management plan. Again, thank you. We've had a hell of a fight for a very long time, and I'm really pleased to see that staff has bringing Harrow Woods to be worked on, and I'm very pleased to see our Residents Association supporting and willing to work to come to solutions to solve some of the issues that are happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak? Please come forward.
Gerald Wick, President of Friends of Douglas Park Society. Pleased to see this process begin. Just a sort of a comment on the side. In the long run, it's going to put more expectations from the public on parks to produce results, to do whatever the plan is, and so forth. And our experience, we've been working with parks and have a very good relationship for 26 years now. But I have to say that they're spread thin. They're underfunded. You're constantly giving them more things to do, so you're doing one more thing. For example, just take Harrow Woods. I'm glad to see that that's part of the plan, but as soon as you get that management plan, they're going to want to see it implemented. It takes money, and I don't think Parks has got it. They're spread too thin. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak?
No note. Art Beck, representing Quadra City Hill Community Association. I live at 3544 James Heights. Just want to encourage council to support the taking forward of the master plan for Cedar Hill Park. I guess we got, as an association, somewhat involved in it post or during the great clay courts debate. And so we very much like to see going forward that there is an evolved master plan, that we have input into it, and that we know as a community we can support the vision. So we are very interested in seeing a clear vision for Cedar Hill Park, and we encourage you, and we encourage the Parks Department to proceed with it in 2016. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Please come forward. Calling for a second time? Calling for a third time? All right, with that, we'll close the public input period, and I'll put the council for a decision. Councilor Price.
With the recommendation. Second.
Councilor Price, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pleased to put support behind these parks in the queue for being given special consideration. Interesting that the two at the top there, 2016-17 Harrow Woods and Cedar Hill Park, both have been kind of the subject of some pretty heated discussion in the community sort of leading up to this. And oftentimes it's when a special place is seen to be at risk or under some kind of gun that galvanizes the community, I think, to really sort of get behind these special places. I think both Harrow Woods and Cedar Hill Park fall into that category. I have every confidence with these going ahead. I will be honest and say, I would have been, my heart would have sung even more if I was absolutely certain what the total future of the Harrow Woods area was all about. Obviously, the park designated purchased as park, and park will remain park. It was always our hope that with all of the work that we did, that the disturbed area would only house an underground attenuation tank, and that was in the approved plan. Who knows what will be there. In the context of all of that, obviously, I'm wanting to ensure that the Harrow Woods Park is maintained very, very carefully in consultation with the community. Cedar Hill Park, the same thing. I suspect that all the energy around the clay courts helped the surrounding community to really come to grips with what it was that they saw and envisioned in the future. And we'll harvest all of that from those two experiences and all be the better for it. And as far as the Mount Doug Park, I think that goes without saying. It's such a significant park, and I'm sure that when these management plans come before us, they will have been very, very carefully vetted. I am so impressed with watching the parks staff and their ability to consult with the community. In the Cuthbert Homes Park exercise, which was very protracted, very long, and many, many issues, but it was an amazing exercise in the end. And you'll recall when they brought the project here to council for endorsement, it was heralded by this council as a really fine piece of work. Every person who came from the community that night spoke in favor of the process. So I feel very confident about the choice of these three parks next being dealt with by our professionals.
Thank you. Councilor Durham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to support this recommendation. A few comments on things that I heard from the audience and that I entirely agree with. One, I think it's absolutely critical as we go through the management plan process that we make sure that we establish a vision of what we expect those parks to become in the future. And that we also make sure that the manner that we have zoned those parks is consistent with the vision that we developed. That's pretty critical. It gives us security and a sense of purpose to the community as a result of that. I think it's also very important that we move to make sure that when we are carrying out this process, that the plan for parks also reflects, where appropriate, and is consistent with the broader objectives of council, the municipality, and its citizens. And those include environmental objectives and social issues for sure. And finally, I must very much agree with Darrell Wick in his comments about funding. I have been part of successive councils that did a very, very good job of acquiring additional parkland. I think we were exemplary in that respect. And we did a much less exemplary job of providing with parks with the necessary funding to manage those additional parklands. It's a tough issue. Citizens are concerned about the state of municipal taxes, the fact they go up, and yet if we do things like embark upon an enhanced park program, that is the end result. In my view, it's something that's probably worthwhile and probably consistent with most citizens' desires, but it is an issue that this council will have to face. Are we in fact adequately funding the Parks Department for what we're asking them to do? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sanders and then Haynes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly support the recommendation. I think there are three very appropriate projects, and I like the order in which they're put. I think that it's excellent when you look at these three parks. If you're familiar with them, they're very different. And I liked what Peter Hetman said about the collaboration between parks and community. And that's so vital to have success with this. And you know, certainly with Harold Woods and the Cedar Hill, the community became very involved over contentious issues. And I think it's nice that when the time comes that those people don't just leave and that they actually take ownership and remain passionate about that. And what can we say about Mount Duck Park, the passionate amount of volunteers that have been there for years and years? It's been incredible. I think about Cedar Hill Park a few years ago. If somebody said, oh, we've redone Reach 17, what in the heck is Reach 17? Well, you know, that's the park was going to be taken over by the clay courts, and so now it's being restored. And I look at that park and think of what other park is a rec center, a volunteer or seniors housing building, a natural park, a pond, and a golf course all in one. So it'll be incredible when the plans happen for that. And I think it'd be interesting to Harold Woods how we deal with the 30-year-old mountain bikers, because you know it's much closer than the Heartland landfill for mountain biking, I'll tell you that. So I certainly support this. I think it's well done, and I agree we need to put more money in this if there's that possibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Haynes. When you're ready.
I'm certainly going to support this, and it's interesting because I do remember being here years before and hearing about the call out for master plans for the parks. It's impressive today to see the people that really cared about Harold Woods standing up today and speaking to this. And it's impressive today to hear the people who stood up for the clay courts. But what's really impressive is how working together around the parks has brought community together, residents together, and together with staff. That to me is one of the real strong values of what we've seen. And I see here in the description on page 77, determine the appropriate level of consultation. Sandwich has recently adopted as policy the IAP2 spectrum of public consultation. It has a 5-level spectrum of increasing public input: inform, consult, involve, collaborate, and empower. And I have full confidence in Doug Henderson and the staff at Parks that they will work to fully embrace the public in this, such that we have, again, a great success like Cuthbert Homes, and it's something we can all be tremendously proud of, not only for the park that comes out of it, but the enrichment of our community that comes out of it. Thank you very much.
Any more discussion? Seeing none. I'll call the question on the recommendation. All in favor? Opposed? None opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Carries unanimously. All right, on the last item of our agenda, Madam Clerk, would you please introduce that for us?
Yes, the next item is the Sustainable Municipal Grounds. The report of the Director of Parks and Recreation is recommending the council receive the report for information and to direct staff to report on progress as part of the overall reporting on sustainability. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any questions from council, for staff? Councilor Pine.
Just a simple question, Mr. Mayor, through you to staff is this the cost of doing this monitoring and directing out on progress? Is this something that's just an easy add-on to what's going to be happening around the halls outside?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, I think reporting on what happens on an annual basis in terms of steps down the sustainable road relating to the landscaping around Municipal Hall is something that staff are comfortable doing.
I guess the only question additional would be if movement toward more sustainable plantings were to occur, is the Parks Department able to proceed on that, or would they come back to council? For example, if the palm trees were up for discussion that it's time to pull them, would that come back to us, or would it go to an advisory committee, or where would that happen for significant changes?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think that if there was something of a significant nature that we felt was going to elicit a fair degree of discussion and interest, yes, we'd certainly bring it back. And I think the opportunity to use the advisory committees as sounding boards, if we're looking at something significant, would be something we'd take advantage of.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Over to Councilor Bryce, or brought this for us initially.
Did you, yeah, I guess
Microphone, please.
I have been, sorry, pardon me. Thank you. I've been impressed actually with the report as a person who's kind of harangued people around here over time about what I thought was questionable landscaping. But I'm sort of impressed that you've been able to accomplish, presumably, what you've been able to accomplish over the last few years. I guess what kind of alerted me to a little concern in the report, though, was the kind of suggestion that just on the horizon there might be some significant expenditures in terms of the ponds and such. Can you get some kind of a magnitude of dollars that we're looking at? I know that would have to come up to a budget, but what is the sort of range that we're looking at with those kind of things?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I can't pull a number out of the air right now, Councilor Bryce. I mean, I think it would depend on the scope of the issue that we discover as we do a little bit more investigation, because we know that the ponds are leaking. We know that they need to be refilled on an ongoing basis to keep them looking as they do. It may be as simple as putting a liner in, or it may be as complicated as taking them all out and reconstructing them. So that it's a pretty wide range. So right at this point in time, I can't give you a number. Corey, I don't know if you are brave enough to warrant that.
No, the major, just to be aware.
Could you come up to the microphone, please?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Corey.
The major issues with the ponds right now are around the willow tree and roots of the willows cracking. So that's what we'd have to investigate and determine what we could do there. Thank you.
More questions? Councilor Hayes.
It was the water that caught my attention in a stalwart member of the Water Commission. I wondered, what is the cost of the water running through the pond? I mean, is it a lot of money, or is it trying to save a small amount of money with a large cost to fix it? Do we know what the budget is of putting water through that pond? Should we know that before we think of repairs?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think that would be one of the aspects of the investigation we do is trying to get a handle. It's not metered specifically at this point.
There are any more questions? Councilor Sanders.
I think the report said a lot of recycles. So there's a, you know, you're not constantly, you're filling them to keep them up, but it's, they're still recycling, is that correct? So like, it's not just all that away, so, you know, you're adding to it. So there'll be the cost of that. Before you, well, I guess you would determine where they're leaking first, and as Gloria said, it seems to be around the willow. And you know, is that where the major leak is? Are they leaking anywhere else?
No, by the looks of Corey's head nodding, it would seem to be around the middle.
Well, before you think of tearing them out as a person
Yes.
that you just repaired upon this last summer after trying to do a do-it-yourself job, they can be repaired quite well in place and for a little bit of money, but I think probably a lot less than ripping them out and starting again. One thing I was going to comment about on the report is that the discussion of the palms is absent, but you know, I think that'd be a chainsaw to get them down if that was the case. But there's also the comment about the exotics, and I just want to state my dislike of the exotics as such. I didn't care for the great giant things up the front of the hall as in addition to the palms. So, you know, I didn't know if that was a statement or what, because we didn't comment about the palms. But so I just want to register my preference to not have those there. But good report, and it would be interesting to see how it comes forward.
Any more questions for our Director of Parks and Rec? See none? All right, thank you so much. And I'll open this up to public input. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Harold Wolf. I live at 4169 Kincaid.
Where have you been, Harold? We haven't seen you for a very long time.
Saw you at the sewage last week.
Oh, yeah, yeah, remember that. Can we please reset this time? Thank you. Just in case.
Okay. First of all,